Some people say you are hard to approach, yet they cannot pinpoint exactly what you did. You are simply accustomed to speaking concisely, disliking small talk, and rarely initiating conversations. When others ask how you have been lately, you always smile and say pretty good, even if things are not really fine. In work group chats, you never use emojis or seize the topic. You turn high emotional intelligence into low presence. You do not actively confide in anyone because you have grown used to the assumption that saying it won't help. You almost never get drunk in social settings because you know you cannot let your guard down. When you need to turn someone down, you do it impeccably, without emotion and without loose ends. You express refusal directly, yet without embarrassing the other person. Simply stating firmly and calmly, "Sorry, I am not free." You rarely get angry, but your silence unsettles people more than anger would. Others call you an adult, a rational person, the most dependable one, yet no one asks if you are tired. You dislike crowded gatherings, not because you hate liveliness, because you have become used to being a quiet observer. You seldom reveal your emotions easily, not because you are cold-blooded, but because you know, once they are seen, you may not be able to reel them back in. You often keep yourself tightly contained, like smoothing out a crumpled sheet of paper, trying to leave no traces. When something happens, you say it's okay, even if you do not truly feel that way inside. You clearly get hurt too, but you say I am used to it. You never cry in front of others or complain behind their backs. Instead, you learn to recover quickly and self-regulate. You are like an emergency system, always on standby. No matter who comes to you with their troubles, you respond steadily. You are the one friends call the rational anchor, yet few have seen you fall apart. You appear strong, stable and rational, yet in the dead of night staring at the ceiling, you repeatedly ask yourself, "Is something wrong with me?" But you know you are not wrong. You have simply walked too far, too quietly, for too long. Some hurts never make a sound. They do not slam the table like anger or leave scars like violence. They hide in a seemingly casual remark or an unintentional glance. So you learn to ignore, to suppress, to smile, and change the subject. You are not unaware of that uncomfortable feeling. You just know better than anyone that speaking up often only earns a "you are overthinking it." Thus, you become more careful, more cautious, even restraining a frown, because you know the world has little patience for sensitivity. You strive to stay calm and rational, telling yourself it's not a big deal and don't take it to heart. You think you have succeeded. You do not get angry, do not respond, do not cry. But the body remembers. That day you walked into the meeting room, they were laughing, and you thought it was about something light. Until you heard your name mixed with an unkind word. You paused, but pretended not to hear. In that moment, your heart raced, yet you nodded, smiled, and sat down as if nothing happened. This is not the first time, nor will it be the last. You always want to be the one who keeps everything smooth, the "it's okay" person. But saying "it's okay too" often truly becomes a kind of relationship. You step back once, others advance twice. You stay silent repeatedly, and others grow used to you not refusing. You think this is understanding, consideration, tolerance, but it is more like your own gradual disappearance. These disappearing fragments slowly accumulate into an exhaustion you cannot name. You become less willing to express, increasingly unsure what reasonable boundaries are. Sometimes you even doubt if you are truly too fragile, if you should grow up a bit. But you never ask yourself the more important question: is the price of maturity really supposed to be numbness? You press these grievances into some corner of your body, turning them into habits, yielding, understanding, accepting. You think you are strong enough, mature enough, but sometimes waking in the night. You still feel a blockage in your chest, like constantly swallowing something indescribable. Those words others toss out casually, those actions done lightly, are like invisible needles slowly piercing the gaps in your self-perception. They are not sharp, yet precise, targeting your softest spots. And you have long grown used to not crying out in pain. You begin to notice these behaviors are everywhere. You just never allowed yourself to define them as hurt before. For instance, that time in the meeting, you suggested an idea, and the response was not direct, but a breezy, "You're pretty cute to have such a thought." You smiled, but your fingers tightened. No one saw. You tell yourself, don't overreact, fearing others will think you are too fragile. You live like a lightning rod, thinking, as long as you do not trigger others, you will not be hurt. But you forget that someone who keeps suppressing would eventually be overwhelmed by themselves. You become better at acting generous, acting whatever works, acting indifferent. Others grow more relaxed around you because they know you will not mind, will not refuse, will not turn against them. They do not ask if you need something. They only ask if you can bear it a little longer. The more sensible you are, the more you are taken for granted. The more you compromise, the less anyone thinks you have boundaries. You become the least troublesome person, and also the easiest to overlook. Even when you finally muster the courage to voice dissatisfaction, they say, "You were not like this before." You cannot refute it, only smile bitterly. You treat "do not cause trouble" as a life principle, and do not overreact as a way to interact with the world. Even if your heart is already riddled with holes, you learn to say, "I am fine," with a steady surface. You think this is maturity. Actually, it is a trauma response. You are not incapable of saying no. You just feel that once you do, the entire relationship might collapse. You crave connection, but fear loss even more. You want to be understood, but fear misunderstanding more. So you turn grievances into smiles, dissatisfaction into concern, refusal into concession. You think you're just being a good person, but you are gradually losing your authentic self. You do not see this as wrong, because these strategies do help you avoid many conflicts. Yet they also quietly build a false self-belief. I must make others comfortable to deserve being liked. You demand more and more of yourself while tolerating more and more hurt from others. You have grown used to this imbalance, even forgetting what equal treatment feels like. You tell yourself this is the sacrifice relationships require, but you never consider that some sacrifices are chronic self-destruction. You are not incapable of anger. You simply do not believe you have the right to be angry. You are not indifferent to boundaries. You once drew them, only to have them crossed repeatedly, and you could only smile and retract them. You forget that defense mechanisms are not flaws. They are just your way of protecting yourself in a chaotic world. They let you survive, but they may become invisible cages once you are safe. You are safe enough now, yet you still live peacetime with wartime tactics. This is not your fault. Do you remember the first moment you felt, "I cannot express my true thoughts anymore"? It was not a massive traumatic event, but more like a silent door slowly closing in front of you. Perhaps at the dinner table as a child, you gathered courage to voice your feelings, and your parents countered, "Can't you consider the adults?" You froze, then silently looked down and stopped talking. Or in school, when friends misunderstood you, you tried to explain, only to be mocked collectively as too dramatic. After that, you learned to pre-edit your emotions, leaving only the parts everyone could easily accept. Or perhaps in a relationship, you said, "I do not want to continue like this," and the other person slammed the door and never returned. From then on, you understood a hidden rule. Expression means danger. while silence brings safety. You no longer easily demand anything from others, because you know how stinging it feels to be blamed for selfishness. You become sensible because you saw too early that the price of not being sensible is losing love. You begin to silently observe in every relationship where you can approach, where you must retreat, where to yield, where not to touch. You turn your voice to the lowest volume just to avoid provoking others' impatience. You did not become silent overnight. It was after being interrupted, ignored, and refuted time and again that you gradually withdrew your courage to express. Do you remember that day you tried to tell the closest person, "I feel a bit sad," and they, without looking up, said, "Are you overthinking again?" It was like a bucket of cold water. You laughed awkwardly and said, "Never mind." You began to treat emotions as problems rather than signals. You started to feel that grievance itself is a disturbance, that anger is immaturity. You make understanding others your instinct, yet you never get the chance for others to understand you. You grow adept at reading others' silences, yet no one reads your forbearance. Each denied experience is like a silent command: hide your needs, or you will be disliked. You obediently follow. You smooth your boundaries before any conflict arises. You apologize preemptively when a relationship tenses slightly, even if you are not wrong. When you want to cry, you deliberately drink water, breathe deeply, force a smile. Weakness cannot be seen, you cannot become a burden. You know too well what version of you is acceptable. You become the person who is always easy to get along with, but you know that is not the complete you. Some people grow up not from maturity, but because they were required too early to shut up, be sensible, and not trouble anyone. And you may be the one who learned to shut up too soon. You never truly agreed to these rules, but you follow them like weather, gravity, and a subtext in relationships. Over time, these unwritten rules become your definition of self. I cannot be too emotional, or others will think I am irrational. I cannot insist on myself, or others will think I am difficult. I cannot make others worry about me, or I am a burden. These beliefs did not form overnight. They precipitated slowly in relationship after relationship. The faster you yield, the less likely you are to be disliked. The more silently you endure, the easier it is to maintain surface peace. You often smile and nod, then stare into space alone until dawn. You take good care of yourself, yet no one truly cares for you. You're used to handling all emotions alone, used to maintaining composure on the edge of collapse. You may quietly cry at 2 a.m., but by morning you go to work, attend meetings, and reply to messages as usual. You tell others, "I am okay," though you no longer remember what true okay feels like. You live more and more like a template, gentle, quiet, undemanding, even anticipating others' needs. You prepare understanding, tolerance, and concessions for them in advance, yet you do not know what you need. You become the emotionally stable person in others' eyes, yet no one knows how you stabilize night after night. You gradually forget what your own voice sounds like, forget that you can make requests, have emotions, say no. You compress yourself into the cracks of relationships, living like a stone that never takes up space. You never want to be a burden, so you leave all burdens to yourself. You smile more, yet feel emptier. You begin to feel exhausted in occasions that should be joyful, silent in moments that should not be. You become increasingly transparent in crowds. Your emotions, thoughts, feelings slowly marginalized until even you doubt their existence. Your responses to the world grow fewer. Your words lessen, decisions slow, thoughts weigh heavier. You gradually understand a logic. Better not to speak and face denial of the real you than to remain silent. You think this is maturity. It is only numbness. You think you have adapted. You are simply too exhausted to struggle. You have not asked yourself in a long time, do I like who I am now? You begin to realize slowly that what you always considered weaknesses are actually evidence of your survival. You are not oversensitive. You have simply never been treated well. You are not easily hurt. You just never allow yourself to cry out in pain. You do not have too many emotions. You simply have no outlet for too long. You are not overthinking. You are compensating for the understanding others never gave. You start to understand those emotions you kept silent are not burdens. They just want to be seen. You are not wrong to care. You were just taught that caring leads to rejection. You are not unable to express. You simply have not met someone willing to listen to you fully for too long. You begin trying to rewrite those sentences where you once negated yourself. You realize silence is not your nature. It is your self-protection. Yielding is not your habit. It is your only way to protect yourself. You are not unimportant. You just learned too early to lower your presence to gain minimal tolerance from others. But now, you can finally tell yourself, you deserve to be treated wholly. You do not need to be understood to be valid or non-troublesome to be lovable. You begin to understand the past, you who was always cautious and weighing options. You were already brave enough. In environments where expression was not allowed, you still retained some clarity. In relationships filled with denial, you still quietly guarded your gentleness. You thought you lost much, but you never gave up becoming a person with feelings, boundaries, and depth. You begin quietly retrieving yourself, not by shouting or accusing, but by gently saying to yourself, I understand. I finally understand. What you let go of is guilt, not responsibility. What you accept is emotion, not weakness. You begin allowing yourself to say no when uncomfortable, to stop when tired, to not force explanations when misunderstood. You do not need to become stronger to deserve gentleness. You do not need to do everything right to qualify for equal love. All you need is to allow yourself to exist. Quietly, wholly, gently exist. Without people-pleasing, without over-explaining, without suppressing. No longer saying it's nothing, or I should understand. Instead, begin saying, I feel a bit sad. I am not very comfortable. I want to be understood. One day, you will find that healing is not about becoming stronger, but about slowly returning to the you who was already whole. The you who, before fear, before concession, before suppression, already deserved to be treated well. You are not hard to get along with. You just have not been approached patiently for too long. You are not too sensitive. You simply remember that having feelings is a strength in itself. You are not overthinking. You are finally starting to hear yourself. You are not too much. You are finally coming back, just a little. Healing is not becoming a brand new person. It is remembering the you who existed before the fear arrived.